All right, let's just jump right in. Have you ever felt, like there's something kind of wrong with you because you have way too many interests? Like one minute you're deep into neuroscience, the next it's poetry, then you're learning to code? Well, if that's you, you need to listen up because we're about to show you how that thing you thought was a weakness, it's actually about to become your single biggest superpower. Oh man, you know this question. That dreaded, so what do you do? You can just feel that little knot of anxiety tighten in your stomach, right? Your brain just completely short circuits trying to come up with one single neat label to put yourself in. It's a moment of sheer panic for anyone whose career path looks less like a straight ladder and, well, more like a Jackson Pollock painting. And this is why that question is so hard. For years, we've had this phrase hanging over our heads, this quiet little judgment on anyone who didn't just pick one thing and stick with it. Jack of all trades, master of none. Ugh. It's the reason career advisors would look at your resume like it was written in, I don't know, ancient hieroglyphics. Now, let's be fair here. The world wasn't exactly wrong to give that advice for a long, long time. I mean, for the better part of a century, society was built to reward a very specific type of person. And chances are that person wasn't you. I mean, just think about it for a second. The entire system, right? From the way we're taught in school to the way corporate ladders are built, it was all designed to pump out specialists. Success meant going a mile deep and an inch wide. So while everyone else was digging their one perfect deep trench, you're out there collecting different skills like they were Pokemon cards. And yeah, the world probably made you feel pretty weird about it. But, and this is the big but, here's the plot twist nobody saw coming. The world completely changed the rules of the game. And that old advice, it's not just outdated anymore. In the world we live in now, it can actually be dangerous. So this is a really great way to understand the shift. You see, we used to live in what some psychologists call a kind learning environment. Think of a golfer, right? The rules are totally fixed. The feedback is immediate. You hit the ball, you see where it goes. Repetition makes you a master. But today, we live in a wicked environment. Think of a firefighter. Every single fire is different, the rules are constantly changing, and the patterns are anything but obvious. And here's the crucial point. In a wicked world, being the absolute best typewriter repairman on the planet is, yet technically impressive, but it's also totally irrelevant. The hyper-specialist struggles to adapt when the game changes. But you? Every single time you jumped into a new hobby, a new subject, a new passion, you were secretly training. You've been practicing for this exact kind of uncertainty your entire life without even knowing it. And all of this brings us to a brand new way of thinking about people like you. A new model for what success even looks like in this wicked world. Because you're not a jack of all trades. No, you're something much, much more powerful. Okay, so first, let's look at the old ideal, right? This is the I-shaped person, the specialist. They've got one single, super deep pillar of knowledge. This was the hero of that old, kind world we talked about. Then, you have the trap that so many of us fall into, the dash-shaped person. This is the classic dilettante, You've got a little bit of knowledge about a lot of things, but you don't feel truly grounded in any of them. And that lack of depth, that's where that anxiety comes from. That feeling like you don't have any solid ground to stand on. But this is the new ideal, the M-shaped person. And look, this is not about being a dabbler. It's about building 2, maybe 3 really deep pillars of expertise. These are the legs of your M. And what connects them? That broad base of knowledge at the top, all those other random interests you've picked up along the way. And it's this unique structure that lets you combine ideas and see connections that the pure specialists they can't see. Let's make this real for a second. Okay, imagine your first deep pillar is software engineering. You really go deep on it. But then you get fascinated by user psychology. That becomes your second pillar. You're learning all about cognitive biases, what actually makes people tick. All of a sudden, you're not just another software developer. You're the person who can build a product that people actually love to use, because you get both the technical code and the human code. And let me tell you, that combination is incredibly rare and super valuable. Okay, so this all sounds great, right? But how do you actually do it? How do you build this M shape without falling into that anxiety trap of being the dash-shaped person? Well, the secret is a really cool approach called serial mastery. So here's the playbook. It's pretty simple. The key is you don't try to build all your pillars at the same time. That's a recipe for burnout. Instead, you pick one pillar to build, you commit to it for what we'll call a season, could be 6 months, could be 18 months, and your goal isn't to become the #1 expert in the world. Nope. The goal is just to become fluent, to master the core 80%. And then, and this is the most important part, once you've built that leg of your M, you strategically quit. And that's not giving up, it's like graduating. You're making a conscious choice to move on and start building your next pillar. This right here, this is the mental shift that changes everything. That feeling of being paralyzed comes from thinking you have to pick the one thing for the rest of your life. But you don't. You're not choosing forever. You're just choosing for this season. So pick the thing that has the most energy for you right now. Or, hey, pick the one that's going to provide some stability. It doesn't matter which. Just pick one and start building that first leg of your M. Now, here's where it gets really cool. When you start doing this, when you start moving between these different fields, something amazing starts to happen inside your brain. You begin to develop a kind of cognitive superpower, one that the deep specialists, well, they just can't access it. It's a concept called far transfer. See, a specialist gets really good at near transfer. That's when you apply a skill to a very similar problem. But far transfer, that's the magic. That's the ability to see the underlying structure, the fundamental pattern in one field, and then apply it to a completely unrelated one. And that is where true, game-changing innovation comes from. And here are some amazing examples of what this looks like in the real world. This is when your knowledge of how a tree's root system works suddenly sparks an idea for how to design a more resilient database. Or when the principles of musical harmony help you write a cleaner, more elegant piece of code. You're not just seeing the individual pieces anymore, you're seeing how it all fits together. You're seeing the music behind the notes. And in today's world, this is so important. This is your uniquely human advantage. Think about it. An AI can be an incredible hyper-specialist. It can optimize code better than any human. But what it can't do is stand at that intersection of technology and, say, human emotion, and solve a problem using an insight it got from studying medieval architecture. That is M-shaped work. That is your work. And listen, this isn't just some feel-good theory to make you feel better about our hobbies. The actual job market is screaming for people like you. The world is finally catching up to the way your brain has been working this entire time. Just look at this number. It's from the World Economic Forum. They're predicting that by 2030, almost 40% of core job skills are going to fundamentally change. Not just evolve a little bit, completely change. That means that single super deep trench that specialists have been digging, it could be totally irrelevant in just a few years. So what skills are taking their place? What are the fastest rising skills? Well, check this out. Creative thinking, analytical thinking, resilience and flexibility, agility, the ability to synthesize ideas across different domains. I mean, does that list sound familiar? It's basically the job description for being an M-shaped person. So I want you to just let this sink in for a minute. All that time you spent feeling scattered or unfocused, or like you just didn't have the grit to stick with one thing, that wasn't a flaw. You were in training. You weren't being a dabbler. You were being a scanner, a synthesizer. You were building the exact kind of mental flexibility that the world now desperately needs. All along, you were building a bridge between completely different worlds of knowledge, and the world is finally ready to cross it. So the only real question left is, with all the unique and interesting pillars that you've built, what new connections, what breakthrough ideas will you be the first person to see?